It's Classic Country 100.1 WGLC. Joining us on the phone from Mendota High School, Mendota High School Superintendent Jeff Prusator. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Charles.
Now, you guys made a big announcement after the high school board meeting talking about fees for the next year. Now, as you may know, some school districts, they'll have a registration fee, technology fee, stuff for sports, all that stuff. You guys have done something pretty incredible now for the fourth year in a row.
Correct. The Board of Education is very concerned about the financial burden and stress that many families feel when August rolls around and it's time to get kids ready for school, and that just what you mentioned, all those fees add up, especially if you have multiple students that are attending school. So for the fourth consecutive year at the board meeting on Monday, the board made the decision to waive all those fees for the 23-24 school year.
Now, some of those fees can get pretty pricey. Now, what's like some of the higher priced fees that you guys have taken off the table?
Well, I'll just share with you, if I can, an example that we shared with the Board of Education. At Mendota High School, it's not unusual for a family to have two students at the high school. So the registration fee for each student would be $95. So for those two students, it would be $190. And let's say one student takes a lab class, for example, takes an industrial technology. So there's a $20 lab fee for that. So the total now is up to $210. Let's say one student's taking driver's education. There's a $100 fee with that. So now you're up to $310. Let's say the family wants to take out our Chromebook insurance option, which is $25 each. So that's $50. So that now brings the total up to $360. Let's say that each student wants to play one sport. That's $55 participation fee for each sport, so that's $110. So that now brings the total up to $470. Let's say that the family goes out and buys, notebooks, calculators, pencils, pens. Let's say they spend $75. So now it's up to $545. And then if they're playing a sport, they've got to buy shoes. So let's say they're playing football and they're playing volleyball. $100 is reasonable for a pair of shoes, so that's another $200. So all of a sudden it's up to $745.
Yeah.
And the board understands that that's just, we're asking a lot from parents. Right now, our district's financially pretty stable, and they just feel that we do not need to pass that burden on to families at this time. Now, saying that doesn't mean in the future we won't need to, but the current time, as long as the state continues to fund the way they're funding, I think we can do this for another year or two.
As someone with a child in junior high, I have my fingers crossed that this continues. If you can at least hold out for another 4 years. But I know that's not something you're going to be doing because you have 1 foot out the door already.
I do. I'm down to my final 2 months. It's gone by quickly, and I have mixed feelings about it because I've been in Mendota for 27 years. Both my children graduated from going through the Mendota schools. We've loved working for Mendota High School. We enjoy living in the community, and it's a chapter that's closing that you're excited for, but also you're going to miss the interactions you have with students and staff and the community.
You only have a couple weeks left to steal office supplies, just so you know. So,
well, I have my supply. No.
Yeah, if you've been eyeballing a stapler or something, now is the time to get it done. Maybe some manila folders. Jeff Prusator, Superintendent of Mendota High School. You're going to be retiring. And your replacement has already been announced?
Yes. A few years ago, the board made the decision to hire our high school principal, Denise Augenbaugh, who's been here for 19 years. She'll do an outstanding job. And then a couple months ago, the board also is going to move our assistant principal, Joe Massini, who's been the assistant principal for 15 years, to replace her as the principal. There'll be a strong. Go ahead, Charles.
Yeah, not a lot of turnover there, I can tell.
No, it's a good team. I mean, they'll do good things for Mendota.
Well, that's good to hear. And again, great news, all the fees being waived. That'll really help with athletics, too, because, that's really a burden on parents, especially if you got kids playing multiple sports.
Correct. And our board has had discussions that we never want a student not to go out for a sport because of those fees. And sometimes we just don't know what conversations are taking place at home that families are facing some type of hardships that we don't know. And they just say, hey, I'm sorry, you can't play basketball this year. So we just don't want that to happen.
Well, thank you for joining us this morning. Jeff Prusator talking about the Mendota High School waiving the fees for the next school year for registration and participation. Thank you so much for joining us on The Breakfast Show.
Thank you for having me, Charles.
It's Classic Country 100.1 WGLC.